Hello and welcome to Find It. Glad you found us tonight. I have a great guest. I'm so excited for her to come on. She is amazing. We are going to be talking about health and laughter. And well, if we're talking about health, we do know that laughter should be and is the very best medicine. So we will be talking about that. But first, I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Studio 11 Style. If you don't already have the free app, go to your app store and download it for free. And you can join us every Monday night at 7 p.m. And we do live streams, and it's more than just selling you clothes. It's becoming part of a community where we build one another up, but also feel good in the fashion that you buy. So that's that. Hope to see you there. And I also want to say one more thing that's serious before we get into, I've been having a total blast with Jen Howell because Jen Howell is our guest and she's in the house. But first, today is June 19th. It's Juneteenth. And I want to say that in 1865, when the slaves were freed, thank you, because no human being, no one should be enslaved. And so just appreciative to that. And I just want to give a shout out to it. One other thing. I want you to know that the type of people that I come from, and I've mentioned before that my great grandmother was a midwife in the hills of Kentucky. And so you can imagine how many years ago that's been. It was in the early 1900s, and she birthed all these babies, didn't lose one mother or baby. But what I want to tell you about is my great grandmother went to a home of a Black family. The young Black woman had had her first child, and her child was born, and the child was hungry. And her breast milk had not come in yet. And my great grandmother, because it was the hills of Kentucky, she was a young woman herself who had a child that was still nursing. And she fed that baby to her chest. That's the people that raised me. Those are the type of people I come from. My great grandmother didn't raise me, but you get what I'm saying. Kindness, love. We need more of that. Doesn't matter what color we are. Doesn't matter what political preferences we have. Do you get where I'm going? Yeah. So anyway, done with the serious stuff, but I felt it needed to be said. So before Jen comes back, we're going to show Jen Howell's intro, and she'll be right back with us. Welcome, Jen. Hello. I love it when someone's in studio with me, and here she is looking all gorgeous, and she's wearing the LTJ jeans from Studio 11 Style too, which
in love
is a perk. Yes. Like I love them on you. Yeah.
I don't own any other pair of jeans now. Like there's no other. I just need a pair in black and a pair in white.
Okay, well, I'll get right on that. But I'm so excited to have you. So Jen came in with her daughter. They were shopping. She and I, sat on the sofa, had some really great conversations, and I'm like, I really would love to have you on the podcast. You have a lot of really cool things to say, and not just what we're going to, I'll probably have to have you on again, because what we're talking about today is just a fraction of what we kind of touched on when you were here before. But let's get right into it. So you'll get to know who she is, but we're probably going to start out with like some serious stuff and then get right into the funny stuff. We may laugh through the serious stuff too. Who knows?
You guys not being funny.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so hard.
Yeah. But tell us a little bit about the health deep dive that you went in and why.
Okay. Well, long story short, which there's no such thing. Anyway, there's no such thing as long story short.
Not for me either.
Growing up, I guess I had like some health issues as a kid and kind of grew out of those things and never really thought anything else of it, and when I had my kids, I would always like have like some high blood pressure and these kind of things, so I always kind of consider myself relatively a healthy person. Sure. I didn't feel like I was sickly or anything like that. I was strong as an ox. I could work right along beside men, sometimes better. But I was just a strong person. I was just naturally a natural worker, a natural had natural strength. And then so I started going down. It was around, I'm going to say probably 2019, 2018. I had a car accident. We were hit by a truck, and it wasn't any like a catastrophic accident or anything, but I had a ligament broke in my wrist and had to take like a ton of time off and get myself recuperated. Right. I had to wear this brace and go through physical therapy and all that stuff. And I had like arthritis set up in my wrist. And I was just kind of like, man, I was really bummed by that, because I was always determined that I was just not going to fall into those generational things that my family had dealt with. My mom had always had, she had osteoarthritis, and my grandmother had arthritis and all that. And I was just like determined to keep myself in a place where I was always feeding my body the right things. And so I was always active. We worked out very often. I love healthy food. Of course, I love all food. I haven't found any food that I don't like yet, except beets. Same. Beets.
I love beets.
I'm not into beets.
Oh, have you had them pickled?
I haven't had them pickled. I'm going to have to try that, but they taste like dirt. And I just like,
well, you got to wash them.
No, it was drinking beet juice. And I was like, it just smelled like I'm drinking dirt.
I love it, man.
So it's the only thing I don't like. So I started dealing with a lot of pain and like inflammation. Of course, going to the doctors a lot of times, if they don't do any major tests, they're like fibromyalgia. They throw fibromyalgia at you every time you go to them. If you're a woman, you're like, my body hurts. They're like, oh, you probably got fibromyalgia. Take naproxen, take a leave, take an anti-inflammatory, right?
Okay.
And so I did that for a long time. I really did. And I just started noticing that I had like cyclical pain. So I would take the leave, and then I would feel worse the next day when the leave wore off. So I'd have to take more. And then I would, go, and I was like, I'm going to try to go without it. And then it would get worse. And so I got to where I was so sore, like my body hurt so badly, my joints, and my muscles. And like when I would work out, I wouldn't recover very quickly. And my husband would be like, oh my gosh, we did leg day last week. Like, why aren't you over the soreness yet? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why I'm not over it, but I feel like I've been mugged.
Yeah.
Like I've been, and I'm just sore everywhere. Every move I make, I didn't have much range of motion. I felt like I felt like an older person than I was. So, going to the doctor, I was just like, something's wrong. Something's not right. And my doctor was like, we just did blood work. Like, we didn't see anything. And I was like, I'm telling you, something has changed. And this was right after COVID. So around 2020, when I got so bad that I was like, something's not right. I don't know what's going on, but something's going on in my body that is not me. And I've always kind of had this stance with sickness, where sickness doesn't get to come on my body. Like it's just a mental thing to me. Sickness is an intruder. I don't ever say my autoimmune disease or my health problem or it's not mine. It comes from somewhere else, but it ain't me. It's not mine. I may have done things to lead up to it. I may have made some choices or had some vitamin deficiencies or whatever that maybe brought me to that place. Yeah. But I never claim it as my own because it's not allowed to live here. Okay. You know what I mean? It's not allowed to live in my body.
Get out.
Yeah. So when we did the blood work, he was like, okay, so it's showing, a very small positive of an autoimmune disease. And I'm like, all right, well, me, so I'm not going to take any medication. So, because I just kind of made that stance with myself that I was like, I'm not going to, and this isn't to bark on anybody that does. My mom takes pharmaceuticals. I've taken pharmaceuticals. I've had to take antibiotics. It's just life. It's just part of our world, But I just determined in myself that I was not going to be the person that got on a pharmaceutical and stayed on it. Okay. That was not going to be what sustained my life. So I told him I wasn't going to try any pharmaceuticals first, that I was going to do anything holistic. And he laid a diet out for me, and he said, do this, take this. And they were supplements. And he said, and do that for 6 months and let's see what happens.
That's awesome that your physician went with you on it and gave you that diet to try.
Absolutely.
So what kind of diet was it? Give us the deets.
Very similar to an anti-inflammatory diet. But basically it's like a histamine elimination diet.
Okay.
So, anything that can be on an allergy list, peanuts, avocados, peanut butter. You know, a lot of people are allergic to peanut oils and that kind of, because peanuts aren't actually a nut.
It's a bean.
Yeah, it's a bean. Tomatoes is one of them.
Yeah.
Dairy is
those are
one
a
of
night
them.
vegetable.
Yes, nightshades.
Nightshades, yeah.
Peppers, all that kind of stuff. And I love tomatoes. I grew up on tomatoes.
Me too.
I mean, I grew up in the garden. We walk around with a salt shaker and just eat tomatoes like they were candy, you know, as a kid.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I just overdosed, maybe. I overdosed on tomatoes.
A little too much acidity there, Jen.
Yeah, too much acidity. And so I did the elimination diet, and I did pretty much everything on the list that I couldn't eat had been my my go-to foods for my entire life. It was I was like, Doc, this is like everything that I eat. Everything that I put in my mouth is on this list.
That you had to eliminate.
That I had to eliminate. So
what did you eat?
I ate pretty much the same thing every single day.
Okay, so you still, because when you did the elimination diet, you then realized that you were feeling better.
Oh, absolutely. I noticed because I did the elimination diet, and it's very strict at first. You strip everything away. There's like a do not eat list, and then there's like a sparingly list, and then there's like an allowed. Okay. So I follow a doctor on Instagram, and she wrote a book about histamine reset. Oh. And I was one of those people that if someone would say, I'm allergic to bananas, I'd be like, how in the world can you be allergic to bananas? Like, that's terrible. Like, why would God put a fruit on the earth that nobody can eat? You know what I mean? That made no sense to me, you know? And so when I started learning about histamine and the effects that it has on your body, if you're not able to break it down,
right,
how much more detrimental it is to your body.
Yes.
And it triggers more inflammation. So because my belief, and what a lot of functional medicine doctors would say, is that if you have a food trigger, it will feed an inflammatory response.
Yes.
And so you would respond with more inflammation.
So, and explain to whomever, inflammation in layman's terms is what?
I mean, it's an itis. I mean, it's, you know, if you have bronchitis, you have inflammation in the bronchioles. If you have, you know, arthritis, you have inflammation in the joints. Yeah. If you have, you know, it's an itis. And we live in a world of processed food. We live in a world of sugar-ridden food, gluten-ridden food. Yeah. And to me, gluten is the number one enemy.
The devil.
The number one enemy. And it is everywhere.
Yeah.
It is everywhere.
My daughter had to eliminate that.
Yeah. And
I should eliminate it.
I have beliefs about that. I believe that gluten should be eliminated from everyone's diet. I think it's the number one cause of leaky gut. I think it's the number one cause of inflammation in people's bodies and triggering lots and lots more sickness that leads them to have to take more pharmaceuticals over time.
Yeah, it's just like it compounds upon like one thing happens to another and then another. And that's so true. And if you do change that, give us an idea of, they stripped everything away. It was really strict at first. What was your allowed foods? Any
proteins that were cooked immediately. I couldn't do leftovers. I didn't warm anything up or store anything in plastic. I kept it in glass because the dioxins and the stuff that leaches out of the plastic when you heat it and even freeze it. So I prepped my meals and I froze my meals by the week. So if it was frozen, I could warm it once. If I cooked something.
I don't understand why, if it was in glass and you can't eat something leftovers.
If it's in the refrigerator, it builds bacteria. And more bacteria creates more of a histamine in the food, which is
the inflammation.
So then you eat that, and then so the longer leftovers are in the refrigerator, the more bacteria it grows.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I've just never really even thought about it. Okay, cool.
Because it's been heated, you know, up to temperature, and then so I tried to eat as much fresh as I could. But I was working an office job at the time, which wasn't very good for me because I was sitting all the time. So
it was fresh, like baked or broiled, grilled meats, red meat also.
Yeah. I could do red. I tried to do grass fed. I did organic chicken.
Okay. Yeah.
I was a manager at Roosters at the time.
Yeah.
I was an assistant manager there, and we got free meals. we got a free meal every day when we would work. So I was like, oh yeah, rock on, free meal. And so I was eating Rooster's chicken and I was sick as a dog all the time. And I was like, what in the world is going on with me? Everybody else eating it just fine, but it was because of the preservatives and stuff. And my body just was rejecting that. And it was rejecting the sauces and all that because it had soy in it or vinegar, and all those are aged foods.
Yeah.
And anything that's being aged has built bacteria.
Yeah.
And so my body just was not happy with it. It's good for you. There's nothing in the world wrong with vinegar. I love me some vinegar.
You know what I mean?
Apple
cider and white, either one.
Malt vinegars, red wine vinegars, white vinegar, rice vinegar, all that. I would cook with all of that and all that stuff. But
so
my
you
body
could have
was seeing it as an enemy.
The grilled, boiled, broiled meats. Could you have like lettuce?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could do salads, rice. Because rice kind of has its own gluten content, but it's different than flour
like
or wheat.
Jasmine rice doesn't have as much gluten,
right?
If at all, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's lower. Possibly there's basmati rice too, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to, I'm just saying, like, why not? It wouldn't hurt anything. If you think that you have aches and pains and you don't understand why you're feeling the way you do, changing your diet. I know.
Oh gosh.
My daughter has a lot of autoimmune diseases, and she had to remove a lot of different foods like gluten out of her diet. Sugar is also the number one. Like, it'll get you.
Oh yeah.
I swear.
Sugar feeds infection.
Sugar's an addiction. Like,
sure.
you ever notice, I'm just gonna have one little slither and then you're like, and you're like, you want to eat the whole liver. Like, it's addicting. Like, it's crazy. But like, my daughter had to go through a lot of very similar things that you did. And she is still on this, very specific diet so that she can. And she said, Mom, I feel better now and stronger now than I ever have.
Yeah.
Because this has been part of her. And we've battled with stomach aches and aches and pains for years and didn't understand. Yeah. So continue. So what else was on the allowed list? Let's see what we can have.
Let's see. Pretty much what my diet looked like. In the morning, I would do organic dark chocolate, blueberries.
I have that over here.
And I would do my coffee. I would do some coffee. Coffee was one of the things I had to eliminate for a while. But then when I added it back in,
you were okay.
It didn't give me any kind of like major reactions or anything, but I did go dairy free with it for a long time, and I used like nut pods, creamer and stuff, and not like
like almond milk or oat milk.
Yeah, I did something like that, but oat milk isn't
not
always gluten free.
That's right.
So you got to be careful how it's grown and where it's grown at and stuff. So so I did that, and then for lunch I would usually do grilled chicken and rice and like a long stem green bean or something like that, like a string, the big pretty little French beans. Those are so pretty. So I did really bland foods for a good little
dress
while.
them in olive oil?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You could do
extra virgin olive oil.
You could do olive oil, extra virgin. I could do avocado oil.
But not, you couldn't eat the avocados though.
I could, but if I had too much, I just noticed.
Okay.
I just noticed that there was a difference in the way I felt. I would bloat immediately, mostly with gluten and tomatoes were the two big things that were.
Tori, it's gluten and dairy.
Okay.
She absolutely has no dairy. Like, she doesn't have any yogurt, no cottage cheese, no cheese, none of that, no milk. And that
she needs to make sure she's eating some sauerkraut then.
Yeah. Oh, she loves sauerkraut.
Does she?
Yeah.
Eat it cold, straight out of the jar.
Straight out of the jar.
Yeah,
hey,
straight out of the jar.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
Kimchi, that's so good.
Oh yeah,
it's good for your microbiome.
Yeah, she likes kimchi.
Yeah,
she
really
likes kimchi also.
So
I mean, but that's good. So then, how long did it take on this diet for you to notice changes in a positive way?
I think probably about 6 weeks.
Okay.
Of the strictest 6 weeks that I had. And then when I got to the end of that, I started adding things in a little bit at a time, just one thing at a time to see. And then my office had pizza day. And they were like, I was like, oh, I can't do it. I shouldn't do it. I hadn't eaten any bread. I hadn't had nothing that had gluten in it. Nothing. I was ordering if I ordered from somewhere that had soy and something, I was like, can I get the gluten-free soy? I always I did all that.
Sure.
And she, and so she brought in the pizza or whatever. She's like, Jen, you can't have this, can you? I'm like, well, I mean, I can try it and see what happens. First few bites, immediately, I was like, bad idea. I feel it.
What
my
happened?
body started heating up. I started breaking out in hives.
Oh
my tongue,
gosh.
my tip of my tongue, my taste buds were like popping out. Have you ever seen those little things that you like squeeze them and their little eyeballs?
Yeah, that's
what my taste buds looked like on my tongue.
Oh my gosh.
They were just like rejecting it.
Tori just
so
vomits. I mean, she just immediately
celiac
gets sick.
will do that to people.
Yeah.
Celiac disease. I don't necessarily have celiac.
Yeah.
I just have a sensitivity because of the high histamine content in gluten.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So,
so do you understand? And this is like asking you a question. I don't have no idea if you even understand or know this or not, but I'm going to ask why in like, say, Italy, it's on my bucket list to go there.
Kamut.
Why can a lot of people who are gluten intolerant, dairy intolerant, and all of these things, they go over there and they can eat their bread
because
they don't get sick.
They don't have the same wheat that we have here.
Okay, what does our wheat in the United States have?
Our wheat generally grown, which in Montana, as a matter of fact,
that's my producer
in Montana. We were just talking about Montana earlier. There is a Kamut farm, and it's Kamut, Kamut.
Okay,
and it is a pure gluten-free grain, which is the purest form of wheat.
Okay,
and they grow that in Italy. They grow that over in European countries and stuff, and they don't allow the food that we have here. A lot of European countries don't allow it into them.
I've heard
like things that have been produced by Monsanto, things that have been bioengineered. I mean, I bought a bag of popcorn today, and the back of the popcorn says bioengineered food product.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, this is what's wrong with America.
Yeah.
This is what's wrong.
Yeah.
And so this is why we're so sick. This is why. And so Kamut doesn't have that gluten.
Kamut's good for the Kamut's good for the boot.
Kamut's good for the boot.
Okay.
And so because years and years ago, and I don't know the history on it. I don't pretend to be a professional anything. But somewhere along the line, wheat got spliced with grass seed. Because of famine and because people were starving and they were hungry and it just grew up with the grass seed, and they just blended it and threshed it all together to make the wheat. And so along the line, we can't digest grass. Like humans don't eat grass.
Well, but you know what? Animals, they eat it and then they barf it up too.
Yeah. Yeah, dogs.
My chihuahua is like, I see her out there like grazing, and then she's like, to make it.
They do that puke. To make themselves throw up on purpose, to get whatever's in their stomach that's upsetting them. Yeah. But cows eat it, and how many stomachs do they have? 7.
I know.
We have 1, and the gluten that it destroys the lining of your stomach, and
which then is leaky gut and all the things,
all the little fingers that clean, the little what do they call it, the fila,
it is
villi or something like that. Yeah, because Sammy was talking to me about it the other day because she has celiac, and so we were in this big discussion about that.
Okay,
and so I was like, we need to try some, because I got a bag of Kamut. My sister-in-law gave it to me, friends from Montana, and I was like, I gotta try some Kamut.
What, like for Christmas? Yes. She's going to get everyone a big bag of Kamut. Love it. But no, this is so interesting to me because I know that everybody really wants to feel good.
Right.
And then you go and you buy these things and you eat these things because you think this is healthy.
Right.
Only to eat these things and then you feel worse. Yeah, exactly. Then you feel worse. Like you should get, an 8-ounce glass of milk for your calcium and things like that.
And we're the only animals on the planet that continue to drink milk after infancy.
Yeah. So explain
we don't know why that is.
Yeah.
We're not sure.
So yeah, it is true. Yeah. So animals eat from the breast of their mother.
Right.
And then once they're adults, that's the end of the dairy.
At some point, some human tasted a cow's milk and went, that's good.
Let's put it on the food pyramid and tell everybody they need 2 glasses a day
and sell it to them.
Yeah. And so you do need good calcium for bone health, but there are so many other foods that are so good for you. And even greens.
The thing is if you listen, which I love Barbara O'Neill. I don't know if you've ever listened to Barbara O'Neill. I love her. She is a pioneer in natural remedies and health and healing. And if you don't know her, you need to know her. So
say her name again.
Barbara O'Neill.
Yeah.
She is the queen of castor oil. She is the
best. I use castor oil. And I'm going to say it like my grandma since I was talking to her about castrol. Yeah, that's all you need is some of that castor oil. That'll take care of it.
It will take care of it.
I rub it on my body.
So many things. Many things. It's amazing.
It helps crepey skin on your thighs too.
It helps because it breaks up lumps and bumps. Yeah. And so any kind of like unevenness in the tissue, the fascia, and it penetrates very deeply.
Yeah. I use Queen of Thrones. It's on my website as a tip. Once again, disclaimer, I am not a physician, but I use it and I love it.
Well, these things aren't prescribed by physicians. These are things that people research and figure out on their own, and they find out. It's the same as going and taking vitamin C or doing some sort of health drink.
Our ancestors did this on the regular.
Well, yeah, they're the ones who knew,
and then we've all forgotten. Yeah. So
I did not forget.
So
I've not
castor
forgotten.
oil. So she's the one that you kind of watch and listen to her podcast.
And so according to Barbara, calcium drinking milk really doesn't do anything for the bones. She says it doesn't do anything.
It just really washes through the system.
Yeah, because the bones really aren't made of calcium. They're made of phosphorus, and
yeah,
they're made of a lot of different things. And
so what does she say is best for bone health?
You know, she gave like a rundown. Vitamin D was a
but
really
how do you
good one.
how do you get
C,
vitamin D? And vitamin
and all these
D
things.
you also have to take with D3. So you need the blend to help the vitamin D
and then
absorb.
you have to have magnesium along with that.
Which I'm a big magnesium glycinate fan. Super duper.
Yes, glycinate. So that's the one. Is that the one you're taking? Because there's like 4 kinds.
There are nitrate. Yes. All the
Citrate is the one that's like the laxative kind of
makes people go poo.
Thionate or theanate, I think it is, or theanine maybe, or
something
like that is really good for cognitive focus and all that. Yeah. So I do a magnesium spray. I do the best that I can to like not swallow a million pills a day.
Yeah.
And so I use a topical and I spray it on my sore muscles, my joints. I spray it on my calves, my feet at night. And
the bottom of your feet and then rub it in really well. Yeah. I also have magnesium spray for the bottom of my feet, but
makes you sleep so good.
It helps. It definitely helps. But the magnesium, I just take 2 of those every night before bed. And I noticed to relax. And also in the United States, we don't get, they actually, it says in the data that I've read that 60 to 70% of Americans don't get enough magnesium in their diet. So with knowing that, I know when I take it, it relaxes me.
Right.
And taking it before bed helps. And so it like settles down your nervous system, but it also gives you the magnesium, the actual mineral, that you need to have a healthy system.
Yeah. A lot of people are depleting in that.
Sure.
And vitamin D. And vitamin D.
So what do you take with your vitamin D?
I take vitamin D. I do the magnesium spray. I take a vitamin C. I take quercetin, which is a natural antihistamine.
Okay.
I don't take like any unnatural like synthetic antihistamines like Benadryl or anything like that. I've done that to deal with like huge flare-ups and things like that, because there for a while I was having to deal with like what was causing the flare-ups and how terrible I would feel afterwards. My face would break out and I would have terrible breakouts along my jawline, and I'd break out in hives. I would swell. If I eat gluten today, it would take me until probably Sunday to feel normal again.
Wow. I think that's how Tori is too.
Yeah. And I wouldn't throw up. I don't necessarily throw up. I just bloat terribly. My legs swell. I look puffy everywhere.
Yeah.
My tongue will burn and hurt and be aggravated. A lot of times I'll get like a blister or something in my mouth just because it's a reaction. It's reacting.
So a lot of people though only have muscle or joint pain and bloating, and that's a sign of having.
That's a huge sign.
Is a huge sign that your body is not tolerating what you're putting in your mouth. Something. And I know that Tori would get bloated, severe stomach pain, sometimes throw up, and joint pain, muscle pain. She gained weight, but a lot of it was swelling and water retention.
Yeah.
So
and you don't realize it.
You don't. And then all of a sudden you change that diet around. And for those of you who may be experiencing some of this, I think all of us to a certain degree experience a little bit of it.
Oh, I think
it's not natural for our body to have. I think
a lot of people have symptoms that they ignore.
Yeah.
And they don't listen to the warning signs.
Yeah.
And your body's telling you something. Your body is telling you something. It's saying, hey, whatever it is this is built up in our system. This is, this, you don't have enough rest. Number one, do you drink water? Does anybody drink water?
Oh, cheers.
Like, no champagne tonight, just water, just agua.
What do you think about, alcohol makes my daughter extremely sick.
I can't do alcohol anymore. I loved beer. I have been a beer.
Well, that's wheat, beyond barley.
Yes. Beer connoisseur. I loved beer. I love the taste of beer with certain foods. And so then I had to get rid of that when I went gluten-free. Okay. And then I was like, I'll be okay. I'll drink a little wine here and there, maybe with a dinner or something. Yeah. And I would do that. And I still can do a glass, not a glass, but like a glass. A real glass of wine. A classical.
Not a water goblet.
Classic glass of wine.
Not a water goblet.
Yes.
Or Hey, Susan Foley, how you doing?
So I just have pretty much just kind of warded it all off and just decided that it's just not worth the pain. It's not worth the punishment. Same thing with gluten. Like eating a piece of bread, does that soft, plushy, wonderful peanut butter sandwich look great on a white bread? Yeah, it does. But it is not worth the punishment. It is just
so another thing I want to say though is a lot of people it's happened so gradually that, meaning like they have symptoms and then they go a while, maybe they're not eating certain foods and they feel a little bit better,
and then they go back to eating,
and then they go back to it, and maybe they're not noticing or making the connection to, oh gosh, when I eat noodles or I
feel terrible.
Bread, you know, I eat this bread, I don't really feel that good. And I think we're all a very busy society, and we go about our day and power through it, right? And so then you gradually just get worse. And then all of a sudden the end result is I feel really bad. I don't look like myself. I don't feel like myself, but you're checking out, your labs are checking out. Okay.
Exactly. Because you haven't got anything on paper that says you got an autoimmune disease, but your body is coming back with an autoimmune response.
Yes.
Like it's giving you like this red flag, you know, it's saying, hey, we don't like this, or I can't digest this. I don't know what to do with this, you know? And so it's messing with every cell in your body is having to respond to that. And so my biggest beef is that if the first thing we want to do is put a medicine on it. And a lot of times people don't know this stuff until they're older. You know, they don't notice that these symptoms they've been having like their whole life have been there, and then they get older and the symptoms get worse, and they're like, oh, I'm just getting old. Oh, I'm just aging. Oh, it's just the normal aches and pains of being old.
Yeah.
I don't think that's it. I think it's toxic abuse. It's over toxicity in our bodies from things that we've been forcing our body to digest that it was not okay with. And so like, my daughter is lactose intolerant. Okay. And she has this thing called functional dyspepsia, which basically means her upper GI is a drama queen. It just means it overreacts to everything. So where we would get a little indigestion, maybe a little heartburn, she was vomiting and throwing up, and her GI tract was just going nuts. And so anytime she would get a shred of dairy, she would be sick like she had a stomach virus for days.
Yeah, that's kind of Tori.
And so once she got the dairy out of her body and allowed her body to start healing, she's to the point where she's only taking like one little tiny bit of an antacid each day. And she's trying to get rid of that, because really, acid reflux really is the presence of not enough acid is really what it is. It's not necessarily that you have too much acid. It's you don't have enough to digest your food. So it's constantly regurgitating, you know?
Wow.
So don't really want to dumb down the acids in your stomach, because you need them. You need them.
You do.
But so once she got that dairy out of her life, she's been so much better.
Wow.
And she's able to it's hard, because man, when you go to that Mexican restaurant, you sit there with that bowl of queso.
Yeah, and you can't have that.
And she's like, I just want a little dip, mommy. I just want a little dip. And I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. She's like, but I don't have to work tomorrow. And I'm like,
I know. It's almost worth it. Okay, so it isn't. It isn't worth it. It's not.
It's not.
So you did this for yourself and for your daughter. The deep dive into figuring out what was going on beyond even the diet that the doctor gave you. In fact, you even got certified in some things. What are they?
Well, that was many, many years ago.
Oh,
I was very young. I went to Ohio Holistic Health Academy in Beaver Creek, and my certifications are probably long gone, but I actually ran a little shop. Me and my sister ran a little place called the Help Center in Waverly for a little while.
Wow.
And
I did not know that.
Yeah, I did some aromatherapy, and we did some reflexology treatments and kinesiology. It was called Touch for Health.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a kinesiology degree.
Yeah.
But we did like the muscle testing and supplements and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I want to throw my foot up here right now. Give me the pressure points. Have you guys really like looked at the diagram of a foot?
It's amazing.
And all the different pressure points that go to different places in your body to alleviate. You know how it feels really good when you get a foot rub or a foot massage?
Yes.
And that must be why, because it's working everything.
It's working
everything.
Everything. That's why when you put that magnesium on the bottom of your feet
and then rub that
it's soaking it into the largest organ of your entire body. The largest organ is your skin. And these are just sponges. Your hands and your feet are just sponges. They just soak up everything you put on them. Which is one of those things why, I started looking at my body wash, my shampoo, conditioner, all the stuff that I was putting on my hair. I stopped dyeing my hair. My hair was purple at the time. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna stop putting the purple dye on my hair. I got rid of like a lot of color dyes and changing up a lot of that stuff because I was just seeing more toxicity. And I wanted to clean myself out enough to where my cells could renew and be stronger the next time instead of more depleted.
Nice. So what kind of shampoo do you use? I mean, because I can't find any that doesn't have a list that long.
Oh, they're all pretty bad. And what's terrible is I don't use a really great, like, but the truth is I don't wash my hair very much.
Oh, well, you know what?
I don't wash my hair very much.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because
So like I literally wash my hair maybe 4 times a month.
What?
Maybe 4 or 5 times a month.
That probably needs to be me. So my hair looks as healthy as yours. I wash mine.
Oh, it looks like it's horsehair. It looks like these are extensions, and these puppies are coming out. Part of it's extensions. You can see this is my real hair right here underneath. But
that's so funny.
So I have to use a certain shampoo because of the extensions. Is the thing.
Oh, I see.
So I'm using the Matrix or whatever. But I only shampoo like every week.
But I mean, it's just, I guess, looking at your lotions and stuff, there's little things that we can do. We're not saying and drop everything that you're doing right now and go completely.
Products, like who's cleaning with cleaning products and not wearing gloves?
Yeah.
And you're soaking Lysol into your hands and
I need to
all
wear
that stuff.
gloves.
Like it's pretty, and I clean for a living. Like I clean I do residential cleaning.
Yeah.
That's my business.
Yeah.
And so me and my daughters. Yes, my daughter is like snap.
You gotta get it on there. Yeah. That's true.
Because I'm not as scared of the germs as I am of the chemicals that are in the cleaner.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So,
but it is true. Like there's all the lotions and potions and fun stuff that we use has also stuff in it that's going right into your system.
Right.
And we're not saying that you have to quit everything, but it is probably a good practice to start looking at what you're putting on your skin and what you're putting in your body to help you feel better. Right. I mean, really. Absolutely. And I've done little steps myself to also help myself. And, I still color my hair.
But we gotta be doing that. We can't let that go.
I actually had my roots done today. So, but I love this conversation. We could talk about this forever. If anybody has any questions for Jen, because honest to goodness, like you could probably ask her anything and she could give her opinion, but we're not medical professionals as you see on the ticker.
No, this is just,
but this is, sometimes you can do your own research and look at, different forums and talk with different people. And also there are those wellness doctors who go to the root, and they are also medical doctors, but they don't want to give you medicine unless they absolutely have to. Right. I love those doctors. Right. I love them. And I love that your physician said, hey, let's try this diet. I'm with you on it.
If he wouldn't have, I would be looking for a new doctor.
Sure. I get it.
Because if the first response is medicine, and, this is irreversible, there's nothing you can do. All you can do is manage it. That's baloney. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. I ain't hearing that. So
yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. So
I like it.
I would have done that.
Hi, Brenda.
I would have done that on my own in the first place. Even if he hadn't have suggested it, I would have figured out a way to figure it out and to to dig into that. Because the truth is the way I believe is that we're a spirit in a body, not a body with a spirit.
Nice.
So our spirit is who we are. And our body is just the vehicle that we live in. And it's our servant. It works for us. And so my body doesn't get to tell me what to do. I tell it what to do. And so
you're so bossy.
I have to be.
You're so
I have
bossy.
to be, because things try to take me down and I can't let that happen.
No.
And so
back it up.
I just know that if you don't take good care of your servant, it will not give you good service.
Oh.
And you'll have crappy service.
We need good service.
We need good service. We need our body to serve us until the end of our life, as long as possible, to be on this earth, to be productive, to be people, we world changers, to be people who walk these kind of things out. Because if nobody ever walked it out, then how's anybody going to know?
Are you guys loving this? Give Jen some love right now. Are you kidding me? I am loving this. Like this is like the conversation on my sofa when you came to shop. I was like, oh, okay. So, now we're going to talk about, because I don't know where the time's gone, but here we are. So
what time is it?
It is, we've been on for almost 39 minutes. Oh my goodness. Time flies when you're having fun, but we're talking about health right now. And really, like, laughter is the best medicine. And so she also is dipping her toe in stand-up comedy, which I've had Lori Graves on here.
I know. I
before.
love her. She's great. I watched that show.
Yeah.
For sure.
And Lori is a stand-up comic, but she also has, are you in her class?
I took her class. I took her level 1 stand-up comedy class. Level 2 hasn't come out yet. I'm gonna have to call OU and be like, what's going on?
Right.
What's going on? She even said, she goes, call them and ask them.
You're a level 1.
Yeah, I'm
now
a
you're
level
a level
1.
1.
And I've done a couple open mics. But I've been a self-proclaimed comedian my whole life.
Yes.
And I do a lot of Facebook reels and stuff and funny stuff. Because I think of things and I'm like, that's funny. I'm like, I gotta, and usually it's about something serious. And then I take the serious thing and I flip flop it and make it funny.
But just do people ever get mad at you for taking something serious and flipping it into something funny?
Oh yeah. I had somebody come at me a few times, but I just think that's even funnier. So I'm just like, and I'll fight with them back and forth. I'm like, oh, whatever. I'm like, block.
So what do you say? Your handle's like she's Jen?
She is too much.
She is too much.
It's on my Jeep. If anybody's, if you're chilled.
So okay. So I know what I think you mean by that. And have you been told that she is too much? What's that mean to you?
Just growing up, I've always been that ha-cha-cha-cha kind of a kid. I was putting on shows. I was constantly introduce me and my uncle always introduced me and I would put on like a fashion show and come out and like in these weird, I would take a piece of fabric and tie it around me. And I was like 5, Yeah. And I was like doing these fashion shows and everything. And then my uncle and my mom actually sent me to a little modeling school for a while when I was like 11, 12 years old. And so they're like, oh, she's going to be a model. She's going to be an actress. She's going to be this. She's going to be that. And I was like, nope, I'm going to get pregnant at 17 and live in Waverly. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a dirtbag. That's what I was.
No, that doesn't mean you're a dirtbag.
I was a teenage dirtbag. That's my glory story. I was a teenage dirtbag.
So you did though. I didn't even realize, but I mean, that makes sense because I met your daughter.
I turned it around.
So you turned that baby around.
Turned it around, baby.
So at 17 and pregnant, but then you've done so much in your life though.
Yeah.
You really have.
I've done a lot.
And your daughter is she's just lovely and sweet and beautiful.
And that's just my baby, my oldest one that I had when I was 18.
Yeah.
She's going to be 28 years old.
Wow.
So, and so, kind of grew up together.
Yeah.
And, but I didn't do any of those fun things. I didn't even join drama club in school or do anything. I was not a joiner. I was a dirtbag. I really was. I was a dirtbag and I was terrible. I was a terrible, terrible teenager. And, so I just didn't do any of those things with myself. And so, I was always told, oh, she's too much. Oh, that Jennifer, she's too much. Oh, look at her. Oh, she's a little extra. And I was like, yep, you're right. Watch this.
Too much. So now she's too much. And so what have you been like? First of all, you guys, imagine going on stage, standing by yourself with a microphone and looking out at all those people. And your job is to make them laugh. And if you stand up there and everyone's like, oh my, that's terrifying to me. That is terrifying. So what was your first experience and how many times have you been on an open mic?
Now I've open mic for stand-up comedy. I did my initial show from the class. We did with the students. Everybody did that at OU at the little theater there.
Okay.
And then I did 2 open mics. So far.
And how did that go?
I think they went great. I had a great time. I think my jokes landed pretty good.
Did people laugh?
Yeah, people laughed for sure. For sure.
What if they wouldn't have laughed? What would you have done?
Right. I don't know. I probably would have just laughed at myself. And just,
That's good.
Mean, I don't take it too personally. I've been on a microphone a lot over my life. I've been a singer and a worship leader, and I've preached messages and did Bible studies and all that. So I'm used to being in front of a crowd. I'm not really shy for that. Like that doesn't really, the microphone and the stage doesn't scare me.
I know. I was thinking, look how nervous this poor girl was on this podcast. Don't you worry about her being so nervous and like stage fright right here? No,
I just worried I'd be like tripping over words. Like, blah, blah, blah,
blah, blah, I knew it would be. I knew we would just bounce right. I mean, you're amazing. You're really good. Let's talk about this. You have your own podcast starting out.
I tried that. Yeah. I haven't got to put anything out for a little while. I tried this little half-hearted podcast on Spotify or whatever. And it is called Baby in the Bathwater.
Baby and the bathwater.
Baby in the bathwater. There's like 3 little excerpts on there. I do talk about like a testimony of myself. Like it was about the time when it's about abortion. It was about abortion. It was like when the abortion laws like changed and all that. And I kind of got on there and like shared a little bit of my heart. And so that's on there. It's a tearjerker. And then I talked a lot about castor oil on a couple of them. And I talk a lot about like,
we'd be talking about castor oil up in here. These
castor
girls.
oil. I'm like, rub some castor oil on it. They're like, I got this bump. I got to put some castor oil on it.
Yeah, and you put that on there for a while, seriously.
Oh, yes.
And there's talk about putting it on these glands to help thyroid.
Oh yeah. Well, you can do thyroid cleanse. I mean, you can use they have specific wraps for it.
Yeah,
or they have like the liver cleanse ones you can put on your abdomen.
Yes.
But it penetrates so deeply. And what I told people on my podcast was that whatever you put with castor oil. So like, let's say you want to use an oil, basil oil or frankincense or whatever to make a lotion or something. You can use castor oil and it will actually penetrate and pull whatever you put with it deeper into the skin layers. And so like, gotta be careful what you put in there. You don't want to put it with a bunch of chemicals and then like soak it super deep into your layers. You know what I mean? Because
like the essential oils that are really good quality.
Yeah. Or coconut oil, almond oil is great. There are so many good things
and
out
even
there.
Like
Barbara O'Neill talks about all that stuff.
I know, like even people who are pregnant, like rubbing it on your, like it helps the skin stretch and it'll, to help avoid stretch marks. Like once they're
I know
there,
that they want you to be careful when you are pregnant, not to put it on your belly because it can actually induce labor. Yeah. So because it wants to pull out and extract. It wants to get rid of things. Yeah. You know what I mean? It'll actually works on skin tags and moles and all kinds of stuff.
I know. So, I watched an actual video of someone that had used castor oil for like a month and it removed a mole. Yeah. Just every night they were putting it on there. It's amazing. We're back on castor oil, people. I mean, but
that's my soapbox. I'll die on that hill. I'll die on that hill.
How many similarities of what we know or what we're into?
It's good for your eyelashes too. Your eyelashes grow in your eyebrows.
Yeah,
for sure.
I've heard that, but I mean, I've not used it on mine, but I believe
you don't want to get it in your eye. It's really,
it's really even painful. Like if you're losing hair or something,
good in your hair.
Like it's so thick though. Like you got it's like
they do have a more refined one that is more thin.
But I say use the high octane.
Yeah, I like
use the real deal. That's not.
Just make sure it's hexane free. That it's organic
and a dark glass.
It's in a dark amber bottle, and I use a Jamaican black Jamaican castor oil that is organic and it's real dark. It looks like molasses. I mean, it's dark and rich.
Mine is more color. Of and I've seen that. Mine is Queen of Thrones, dark, organic, all the whole nine, and then it's more of like a caramel, color. And I love it. I love it. I really do. I mean, I do it.
It should be in your medicine cabinet.
It should. Sure. I rub it on my body and then I put on old pajama bottoms. That's what I do. I don't even use
I've put it on my calves because I would get like really swollen, like in my legs, especially if I'm working and I'm doing like big jobs and I've got a long day and I'm on my feet all day. I'd rub it on my calves and put like some tall socks on and sleep in and like wake up and like all that swelling and inflammation from my calves. I mean, I would have sometimes 10, 12 cramps a night, like Charlie horse cramps because of the autoimmune stuff, you know, which is mixed connective tissue disease. By the way, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, it's all got a name, but it all comes down to pretty much what triggers it.
Inflammation.
What triggered you. Yeah. So
okay, I want to talk a little bit more about your stand-up. So you've done a few stand-up, you're into it, you're still loving it, even after you tried it and you wanted to learn more. So you want to go to level 2 with Lori Graves. And are you going to be doing anything soon that we can follow? I don't know.
You? I was thinking about the Gutterball Lounge here in at Shawnee Lanes has an open mic, and I've done that one once, and I've done the one in Jackson at the Stockroom once.
Okay,
and had a great time at both. I mean, the group of people are just bar none. Like they're just great. Like you cannot. Yeah. You can't find better people.
I mean, it's fun to be around people who love to laugh.
They love to laugh, but the thing is like they take their own self and create humor about themselves. And if you can't laugh about yourself, then you're entirely too serious. You know what I mean? Like you're entirely too serious because the game of human, you got to have a sense of humor. It'll take you out.
Oh, true there.
It'll take you out. So
that's so true.
But it is a lot of fun, and I would love to do more. I would like to like to be able to do like some women's events, or you know, do some like, because all my whole act is clean. I don't cuss in it or anything like that. I know a lot of people are throwing out the cuss words and it's hilarious, and I throw my head back because it's so funny.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I love it. But my style is just a little different. It's a little more down home. I talk a lot about Appalachia. Talk a lot about my family from Kentucky. Where I come from, who I am, and what you know, what's funny about me, and I just make fun of myself pretty much the whole time.
I mean, you know, that's funny, but you know, I mean, it's just like, you're right that when we can laugh about it, but you don't really believe it. Like, you love yourself.
I mean, some days, yeah.
I mean, you love who you are.
I mean, some days I look in the mirror and I go, "What is wrong with you? Are you okay?
Are you okay? Girl, you okay?
Check it in." My husband says I talk to myself too much because I call myself by third person, and I use my full name when I'm mad at myself. So, you know, if I say something, I'm like, "Okay, come on, Jennifer." And then he's like, "Oh boy, she's using the full name. Well, you okay in there?" I'm like, "Nope." I'm losing my religion in here.
Oh my God. I love this so much. I love this so much. All right. So here's one thing I ask every single person who, most generally, I ask every person that comes. The name of this podcast is called Find It.
Find It.
So in your life, and there's a lot of things I'm sure that you have found.
Yes.
But what can you share with us that you have found in life that you can share with us to maybe inspire us to find it too?
To find exactly what? What are we finding? Just finding you're fabulous, or
finding it could be faith, it could be fitness, it could be health, it could be love, it could be parenting, finding joy, finding yourself, anything that has been very life-changing for you that you found in your life that made a difference to you that you can share with us.
Finding those people that you can do life with. Finding those people that are your family, not the ones God gave you, but they're the ones, not the ones that you were given by birth, by name or by blood, but the ones that God gives you. Yeah. Those people. I have some of the most wonderful people that I can call friends, sisters, brothers in my life, and they have made all the difference for me in my life, and led me to where God was, and led me to where healing was, and led me to where forgiveness was. And when I was stubborn and when I thought I knew it all, there was somebody going, "But Jen, what would God say about that?" And you know what I mean? And it just puts your life in, it puts you in perspective of, yeah, I've got a lot of grit, but where's that grit crossover to pride? And where's that grit crossover to stubborn? And where do we find that happy medium in your life, and not allow yourself to fall into bitterness or fall into sickness because of what's going on inside manifesting physically? Because I mean, for my life, I've noticed that things that happened internally to my spirit, to my heart, the things that hurt me, the things that were disappointing, very much so were a part of my health and a part of my pain that I was dealing with. And as I go through the process of eliminating food, I'm also eliminating and trying to find, eliminating not just relationships, but mindsets, and eliminating like beliefs and rejection and traumas and triggers, emotional triggers and emotional pain, and looking at it like, okay, this emotional pain kind of it made me feel worse today. Like I had this
saying,
trigger.
You know what she's saying?
Yeah.
Instead of find it, you got to lose it.
You got to lose it.
You got to lose some things.
You got to lose it sometimes. You got to find the strength in order to say, hey, this decision I made in my life caused this to happen. And now I'm dealing with like this triggery thing, this triggery emotional thing. And it makes my body hurt worse. It makes me feel worse inside. You know, it's like makes my symptoms worse. Stress makes my symptoms way worse. Sure. And usually who's the cause of most of your stress?
Yeah.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Yourself is the cause of most of your stress.
And so the people though that God has put in your life who you've recognized that are there to help center you again. I mean, it's your tribe.
They're the people. It's the tribe you fall back into. It's those people that just take you in and fold you in, and just say, "You've always belonged here." You know what I mean? You've always been a part of us. And there was a little stint where my husband and I went away from church for a little while, and we thought we knew what we were doing, and God showed us real quick that we didn't know what we were doing, and He brought us back to our people. He brought us back to our people that were always there, and they were always praying,
Nice.
and always there for us, and always making a way for us to be a part of their life, whether we were a part of theirs or not. Like, they were always reaching out.
I love that.
And so finding my
that
people.
is awesome. Oh,
That's the only reason I won't leave Ohio, is because my people.
your peeps are here.
Yeah, my bones hurt in the winter in this place.
I know. I know. A little extra magnesium.
Can't
some
leave my,
stretch.
yes, can't leave my people.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know about you, but if you don't feel like you've just had an amazing chat with Jen, I don't know. I loved this so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking me. I love it.
Oh, it's so great. We'll have to have you back on, and we'll have another topic to share. But thank you all for being here, and I appreciate you. And don't forget to download the app if you haven't. Would love to see you every Monday night at 7 p.m. And then I do sporadic ones too. You just never know what I'm going to do. So anyway, it's a lot more than selling clothes. And this is a lot more than just talk. It's meaningful stuff that you can take. I'm wearing a necklace from Studio 11. Plug. Beautiful. I'm going to be on her next stand-up mic. She's going to be making fun of me. She plugged like chug a chug chug. All right. So everybody have a great evening, and I will see you again next week. See ya.
That floats around me, keeping me safe and sound.